Hey Wes,
Hey, man.
what is your favorite Olympic sport? And it can be either the Summer Olympics or the Winter Olympics.
I really don't watch the Olympics, but I do like the extreme games.
You like the extreme games? Well, what's
Uh,
your favorite extreme game event?
Probably the snowboarding,
Snowboarding?
where they do the tricks and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, they got those in the Olympics too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like Shaun White. That dude was.
That guy's insane.
That dude is insane. He's got a couple video games after him too.
Mm-hmm. So does
Dude's.
Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah. He's he didn't even know how to skateboard until he started getting famous.
That's hilarious.
That is hilarious. Well, I'd have to say my favorite event would probably be the bobsled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the Jamaica bobsled team.
Oh yeah.
That's a great team.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy to think about that the Winter Olympics is just like 37 different types of sliding.
Uh, that's a good concept.
I mean, just think about it. All they're doing is just sliding on frozen water.
I like it.
It's just
I like
37
it.
different types of
37
sliding.
different types of sports.
Well, if you can't tell, this is Christ and Culture, and today we're talking about sports. We have the Olympics that just ended, or is ending soon. And there's a lot of pride filled in America right now because right now we have the most Olympic medals, not only gold but also overall this year with the Summer Olympics. And it's a crazy thing, the sports culture in our country and even the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it dominates our lives in multiple ways. We go through school and it's about sports teams, clubs, and you have all these different events, all of them having teams competing against each other in any different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you have huge world events such as the Olympics. You've got like the FIFA World Cup. You've got the World Series in baseball. But all of these are huge events just about sports.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to talk about how, as a Christian, do we deal with sports. You're probably thinking that, this isn't an important enough topic to talk about, but if there's anything relating to God, then everything is important to talk about.
Absolutely.
So the first thing we want to talk about is, why do we have sports? Well, first of all, entertainment is the biggest thing, not only for ourselves watching, but for those participating. I mean, think about like going to camp. You're playing a game of kickball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are we
Always
playing?
fun.
Always fun. It's always fun to throw a ball at a kid's head, and just hearing the smack as it hits.
And then the crying that
Then
happens
the
afterwards.
crying, and then you
Yes.
have the director coming up. Okay, maybe it's not as fun, but but you're not playing for a bunch of people. You're playing for yourselves. You're trying to keep
Exactly.
yourself entertained. We entertain spectators.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have huge stadiums built just to entertain people.
Yes.
Think about like Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'm an Alabama fan, so that's what I know. Bryant-Denny Stadium. They completely renovated it and add like several thousand more seats just so they could fit more people in the stadium. They could fit over 100,000 people in that stadium at one time.
I mean, just think about like Neyland Stadium. I'm a Tennessee Vols fan, and so that's what I know. And we actually have one of, I think, the top 4 largest college stadiums in college football.
That's because y'all had dead bodies under the field.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's it. Yeah. So you might want to worry. I mean, we Tennesseans, we have some secrets.
Yeah, y'all do have some secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also think of like Death Valley over at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
They there was one year the crowd got so loud that it set off an earthquake center on the Richter scale.
That is awesome.
That was several miles away.
I
It
would
was
have loved
so
to have witnessed
loud.
that.
So we have all these stadiums and that we build for people. We also block out huge amounts of time on television. I think like what the average game is about. Football game is about 3 to 4 hours, depending on how fast things flow. I know there's several times with baseball games, there's shows coming on afterwards, but they're in overtime or they're still at the top of the ninth. Well, they could still be playing for like another 20, 30, 40 minutes before the game's even over. And if they're still going extra innings, then who knows how long it'll last, and it's cutting into other shows. So they last quite a while.
And the typical mindset of the individual who's watching, if it goes into triple, quadruple overtime and things like that, man, they are loving it. I mean, the longer it takes for the really
It's
really
exhilarating.
good game, oh yeah, the longer it takes for the game to be over with because it's such a close, good game, you don't want it to end. So there's no complaining. There's no.
The only complaint is the people missing their shows.
Exactly. Those who are not really into the sports.
Yeah, those who are not into sports.
But I mean, you think about the mindset, even of just a normal individual. Doesn't have to be a member of the church or anything like that. But you're talking about an individual who absolutely loves sports. They don't care if it takes up 5 hours of their day or 6 hours. It doesn't really matter. I know some people that whenever football season comes on, all they're doing all day Saturday is not doing anything around the house.
They've got the
But
TV
they've
on,
got
and
the TV on.
they're watching football from sun up to sundown.
Exactly. And I mean, they don't complain. They love it. That's the way that the sports enthusiast actually deals with their time.
And if there's like a huge rivalry game, like think Alabama and Auburn, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, think of teams
Alabama
like that.
versus Tennessee. So,
Well, I mean, that's not much of a rivalry, but you know.
well, watch it.
But think about events like that. We'll have whole groups of people over to our house. We'll barbecue, cook steaks, pulled pork, whatever. We'll have the whole fixins, and we'll just watch the game, and we'll yell at the TV for 3 to 4 hours.
I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We live in a sports culture.
Yeah, a very sports-dominated culture. Another reason we have sports besides entertainment is also for personal growth. And this is more of the athletes than it is for the common person. We see that athletes go through extreme training regimens. They have training regimens that are tailored to their needs. I mean, someone that is a linebacker is not going to have the same training regimen as a point guard in basketball. And those are two completely different positions, two completely different sports. And so they're going to have two completely different training regimens. On top of that, they got to have nutritionists. They got to meet their physical energy needs, their health needs, and there's like two different caloric differences that are needed. Like a linebacker is going to take in a whole lot more calories than that point guard is going to take. And another reason we have sports is money. This one hugely dominates our culture.
It's all about the money.
It's always about the money. I mean, think about this. 2017, the entirety of the sports industry around the world generated $91 billion. Billion with a B in revenue.
That's insane.
That's insane. That's worldwide. And that's revenue.
Wow.
$91 billion worldwide. I mean, all of that is generated from a lot of different things, like merchandise. I mean, think like how many Tennessee shirts do you think you own?
I own about 4 or 5, maybe.
How many Tennessee cups do you have?
About 3.
How about different Tennessee paraphernalia and memorabilia?
More than I can count.
So,
you can just go to my office. And you can
yeah, I
actually
just go
see
to your
that.
office and it's covering your wall. I don't know how you deal with that gaudy orange.
Watch
It's
it.
terrible.
Watch it.
I mean, that generates a lot of money.
It really does.
Like, especially
Stuff's
licensed
not cheap.
stuff is not cheap at all. You take a regular shirt like you're wearing right now, just a regular polo shirt that probably costs, $10. You slap that orange tee on it, or white, or change the color of it to orange, slap a white tee on it, and then that shirt is automatically
30,
worth
40 bucks.
$40.
Yep.
I mean, it went from $10 to $40 just because you slapped a letter on it and changed the color.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of money there, but there's not so good ways that money is also generated.
I know. And one of the biggest things that you actually see out here in the sports world is that you have like DraftKings and things like that, where people are gambling on athletes. You're talking about teams and things like that, which it's gambling because you're taking that chance. Because anything and everything can happen. I've heard individuals who have who are very dependent upon this one person on a particular team, that like all of a sudden at the very beginning of the game he blows his knee. Okay, what happened with all your money you just gambled into that?
It's gone.
It's gone. Anything can change in just a matter of a second.
A couple years ago, they just legalized sports betting in the state of Mississippi. I mean, that's 40 minutes from us, 45 minutes from us, and they just legalized it. When Alabama found that out, when the first big rivalry game happened, I mean, half the state went across the state lines just to go play sports bets. So they went over there and placed thousands of dollars. I remember seeing on the news this one guy put $50,000 on Alabama over, I think, Ole Miss. That's a lot of money.
What could you be doing with that money?
A whole host of things.
And there's a lot of people who are so engulfed into this type of thing. And I mean, it's just gambling in general.
Oh, yeah.
Gambling in general, where individuals will actually put the money that should be feeding their family
Their
to
life
a sporting
savings.
event, and then they lost it all
In the blink of an eye.
in the blink of an eye. And you know, the Bible talks about being stewards, right? Do you think that chancing your money on something to the point of where you're and the thing that's wrong with the whole, what makes it different between investing and actually gambling is the chance aspect.
Oh, yeah.
So you're talking about like when people go to like casinos and things like that, the chance of a card being flipped over in your favor, there's nothing solidly there. It can't be proven. You're basing everything upon that chance. And that's even in sporting events. Because, I mean, you think for a second, how quick can somebody have a broken back?
Very quickly.
How quick can a person have a blown knee?
Very quickly.
How quick can things change when you're talking about the best of the players? All of a sudden, for some odd reason, something happens to them. Anything can happen.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen dreams go down the drain just in a mere second. I mean,
you'll see it in high school and even middle school.
Yeah.
Like, you'll have star players that are getting scouted, and then they have one bad accident. Their freshman, sophomore year, or even their senior year when they're getting ready to go to college, all their dreams are down the drain. I mean, all you got to do is just break your ankle the right way.
and you won't be able to play anything
You
again.
won't be able to play anything. Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to play like casual games, but you'll never play on the level that you were. Never.
There's no way. And I mean, you think about how things can change like that, and then how engulfed some of these players. I mean, they make that like their first thing in life. They go through
Because they're chasing after those $1 million contracts that they're getting.
exactly. And let's be real with this. What is the realistic expectation of going pro?
Not very good.
Not very good, but yet these people are working so hard that they actually put that first in their lives. And yes, I'm even talking about Christians as well. That they're, and here's the thing, whatever we strive after first and foremost requires sacrifice. And so the real question is, what are we willing to sacrifice?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people are willing to sacrifice a lot for that. I mean, think about 1% of high schoolers will get to play in college. Now, 1% of that 1% will get to go pro.
Mm-hmm.
And they're willing to place everything on the line for that.
I want to tell you about this. My brother in high school, his senior year, he actually got the best offensive lineman award his freshman or his senior year. He was an awesome left tackle. Now, the unique thing is that with him, almost nobody at all could get past him. I mean, that's how good he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? My brother wasn't the size that he needed to have been in order to go to college, and he didn't have the coach that was really trying to fight for him. Therefore, I mean, I think he could have easily been pro, but guess what?
Didn't happen.
It didn't happen. And he put a lot of work into that. He ate the way he needed to. He worked out. I mean, he was almost 100% muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an awesome left tackle. He was a threat to their opponents, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still didn't go anywhere with that,
Mm-hmm.
even though he put so much effort into that.
Mm-hmm. Going to our next point. This episode we're looking more at the problems with sports. I mean, there are a lot of pros,
Absolutely.
a lot of goods when it comes to sports. Team building, that is needed. Learning how to deal with conflict, that is needed. Those are all good things that you can get out of being on a sports team, and those are things that are very well needed.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think that I'm just coming after sports for the sake of coming after it because I hate them or anything. No, I played soccer for years. I played from elementary school all the way until I got into high school. Then I joined band, and I was in band from the time I got into middle school all the way up till I graduated college last year. So there's a lot of things that I've done have been very team based, very athletic based. So it's not just me hating on sports because that's not what I'm about. I'm not about hating things just for the sake of hating things.
I love sports.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm still gonna watch football games and all that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we got to look at the problems that can arise from this. So we already know there's a lot of good, but because of those goods, we kind of forget the bads that can come with it.
That's right.
So, Wes, what do you think is one of the biggest things that can come with, or biggest problems that can come with sports?
I think one of the biggest things is pride. And the reason why I say that I think one of the biggest problems is pride is that really these individuals that allow sports to overtake them. And I know as we were talking about this episode already that I brought out that it's either the sports make the person or the person makes the sports. And you've got so many individuals that are out here that they allow the sporting world to engulf them to the point that it begins to change them. They begin being arrogant. They begin starting to put down individuals of other teams, and I'm not saying in a playful mood. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, you and I mean, just like that little cut that you just said. Well, Tennessee is really not a rival when it comes to Alabama.
I meant every word of that.
Oh, I know you did.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. No, but you've got like the rivals of where you have like Alabama versus Auburn, right? I mean, two in-state rivals. So, but
In-state, in-conference rivals on top of that.
Exactly. So you've got some Alabama people that literally change their attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Change their demeanor, change their feelings towards that of the Auburn people. And the Auburn do the same thing with Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, okay, you would expect that out of people from the world. You would expect that because
you would expect that from the world.
you would. But what's the sad thing about it?
Oh, we see it every Sunday morning.
Yes, you do. I mean, you think about how some people just want to nudge and it almost seems like they want to take a knife if they could and not only just stab the individual with it by their sly comments and their actions towards them or whatever, and then they not only want to just stab them, they want to turn the knife as it were.
Oh, well, did you see your wide receiver? Well, he completely missed that catch. But
Yes.
my wide receiver, oh, man, he's so much better.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see we won the national championship for the 52nd time? How many do y'all have? Oh, 3. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the attitude we're getting.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a playful type attitude with it, because I mean that's what we do, and that's what you and I do to each other, right? But the thing of it is, when it changes the way that you treat somebody, and you can tell when somebody's kidding and when somebody's not, and you can see that clear as day. That has no place in the church at all. And
None whatsoever.
I mean, you also think about the championships. You also think about, well, my country's better than your country because our country. I mean, just like what you just said, there is a lot of pride that comes in with being, a citizen of the United States of America.
You never see a more patriotic group of people till the Olympics come on.
Exactly. And so it almost seemed like that a lot of the stuff that's been going on sports-wise around here and in our nation here lately about the whole kneeling and all this other stuff, which that just stirs me up anyways. But all that goes out the door whenever you go to the Olympics. And then you start seeing the prideful athletes that are actually showing, hey, look, this is us. I'm thankful to be a citizen of the United States of America. And I mean, there's a lot of things that go along with that, but it's just something that I think can really cause a lot of trouble if you're not careful. And that comes with anything in life.
You know the saying, pride comes before the fall?
Yes. Pride comes before destruction and the Holy Spirit before a fall.
Which leads us to their fall, which is hatred and division.
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, I think it was only 2 years ago, over in Baton Rouge, Alabama was playing LSU. And I'm going to refer to a lot of Alabama stories because guess where we are? Alabama. Alabama was playing LSU over in Death Valley. And an Alabama fan shot an LSU fan over a stupid comment.
That's just uncalled for.
That is uncalled for. That is needless. That is so stupid. Like, why do you feel the need to hate somebody over that, over a sports team? I mean, I can't remember if he died or not, but if he did die, if we're a Christian and we're seeing that happen, then we need to take a step back and look.
Has this gone too far?
Has this gone too far? Like me, myself, I have mostly stopped watching football of any kind. And I've said it earlier, I'm an Alabama fan. I've stepped back with how much I watch and what I participate in sports-wise. I take it to the point where I straight up refuse going over to some people's houses to watch football because I know how they act and whatever they do. Like when I'm at home, I don't watch the game downstairs. I go up to my room and I play video games. I mean, I don't want to be around a culture that's about hating other people, because of sports. That's so stupid. This one's kind of personal right here. 2011. Man, you probably know about this as well. 2011, a man called into one of the Alabama football radio shows, and he said, "Hey, guess what? I went and poisoned the oak trees in Auburn." I had just been up there I'd been to Auburn for one of their honor bands, and it was my freshman year of high school. I was just up there, and he did it that weekend I was there. And that next week, he had called on and said, hey, last week I went and poisoned those oaks.
Again, uncalled for.
Uncalled for. The dude, I mean, he got tried, sent to prison, and he was ordered to pay like $1,500 a week or something like that. He had to pay like several $1 million in damages.
Wow.
Because of his hatred that he had over a sports team.
Mm-hmm.
When it goes that far, it's time to take a step back and look.
Absolutely.
And this one might irk some people. Talking about people like Colin Kaepernick and Megan Rapinoe. And this is what I put on my notes. It says, when they don't play the game that we want them to play, we want them to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Sports was never about politics. It was never about some kind of agenda. It's always supposed to be about a group of people getting together, playing games, having fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it always should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And even though people may make some kind of political statement out of it,
mm-hmm.
we shouldn't cater to that.
No.
Because from what I've seen, the biggest proponents of cancel culture is the church.
Mm-hmm.
Someone says something we don't like, get them out. I don't want anything to do with them. We don't want to hear anything we don't like. We don't want to see anything we don't like. So we'd rather see someone fail than see someone grow.
Mm-hmm.
So then our failures as Christians when it comes to sports.
You know, one of the biggest things that I think that we need to really deal with, and I hope that our listeners are going to listen to this and really take heed of what we're saying with this, okay? I have seen so many Christians who, remember how I made the statement, it's either you make the sport or the sport makes you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how whenever you are an athlete in a particular thing, you've got to make sure that what you're striving for, that you're going to have to make some sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, physical sacrifices is one thing, spiritual sacrifices is another.
Oh, it's a completely different
It's
thing.
a totally different thing here. But I've seen so many individuals as Christians make sports an excuse
Mm-hmm.
for them on why they weren't there on Wednesday night or why they weren't there on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't understand, preacher, my child's in these sports. They've got to be there, or the coach says that they're not going to be on the team anymore. Okay, so you're going to allow the coach to tell you
What's best for your child?
what's best for your child, what's best for your child's soul, what's best for your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, we've got to make a decision that whenever, like we've already made the decision in our house, that if there is any type of sporting event at the same time that we're having a church event,
Mm-hmm.
guess where we're going to be found?
Church.
We're going to be with the church event.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may say, "Now, hold on a second now, preacher. That doesn't sound right." I mean, what if the team really needs you?
Well, that's
Okay,
their problem.
well, that's their problem. But the thing of it is, I've seen people like travel ball, for instance.
I mean,
they're always gone.
this whole area that we live in is a huge travel ball area.
Yes.
I mean, we've got people that come and worship with us. Their daughter just won the,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was the 12U national championship
And that
for
is
travel
awesome.
ball. That is awesome.
Yes.
That is really, really awesome. But I hardly ever see them.
Yeah.
I hardly ever see them.
You know, the thing that we've got to make the decision of, and it happens right here, right now. Are you going to put Christ first, or are you going to put whatever sporting event that you're involved with first? I mean, you make that decision. Nobody else makes it for you. The coach doesn't make it for you. Your child doesn't make it for you, because the last time I checked, you're the parent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's really what it is. And therefore, it has been given into our hands as parents to say, okay, it is my duty to raise my child the way they need to go. My duty. So, I mean, if your child wants to do something that is contrary to the way that they need to be going, who makes that decision if they do it or not?
The parents.
The parents. That's the way it happens. It doesn't matter how good your child is in a sporting event. It really doesn't matter anything of that nature. It is our obligation as a parent not to be a friend. Now, there's nothing at all wrong with being a friend. That's a great thing to be. But we need to remember that we're parents first.
See, be parents to them for the first 18 years. That way, later on in life, you can be friends with them. Because once they hit 18, there's no more parenting. I mean, they've already...
you're never going to stop teaching your child.
You're never going to stop teaching your child, but...
You'll always be a parent.
You'll always be a parent, but there's no more parenting after a certain point.
But at that particular moment is when they are the ones that make their own decisions. And they're going to be having to take heed of those decisions. So,
and they're going to make their decisions based on what you teach them. So the question is, what are our solutions to this? In a sports-dominated world and culture, how do we deal with this? And I really only have one solution, and I don't think there's really any arguing with it whatsoever. There are some things a Christian should not concern themselves with. There are some things that a Christian should not ever deal with. And one of those things, to me, is sports.
yes.
That's one of those things that I believe Christians should never deal with.
Well, here's what we got to realize. All of the laws that God has in His Word, right? Whether you're talking about modesty laws, if you're talking about priority laws, if you're talking about the language, the way we are to be talking and things like that, our priorities, everything like that, we've got to realize that those don't go out the door.
No.
Whenever you're talking about all of a sudden sporting events. Those
You should
are
be
just
catering
times,
the world around the church, not the church around the world.
Exactly. And therefore, we need to realize that the principles that are mentioned within Scripture are exactly that. And in sports, it's just a different, it's just another applicable way of applying what's actually being taught.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't all of a sudden say, it's just cheerleading. Well, I'm sorry. Guess what? Am I stress? And also you're talking about the gestures, the dancing, the lasciviousness that takes place and all this other stuff. If all those principles apply to whatever that sporting event is, if I have to violate any of those, should a Christian even be part of it?
No.
Absolutely not. But preacher, you don't understand. It's that I don't care. And guess what? God doesn't either.
That's why He says in Colossians 3:2, set your minds on things above.
There you go.
Not on the things that are on the earth.
Exactly. And it's either we're going to be putting Him first in everything in our lives, or we're not. We make that choice. And I love Colossians 1 verse 18, whenever he says there that He, talking about Christ, may have the preeminence in all things. The preeminence simply means being set first in everything. And so we're talking about in anything that we go through in life, the very first question is, what does God have to say about it? If He says it's good, that's great. But if He says no, the decision should already be made.
A few weeks ago at camp, I was telling my kids that if you don't have Christ first, you're not doing anything right. And I told them one of my favorite phrases is, second place is just first loser.
There you go.
If you don't have Christ first, He's just first loser.
There was a common phrase that was out a few years ago, if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
And you might as well be last. Because you think about that. Whoever sits on the throne of your heart is your God. Now we've got
That's
to ask.
who you will cater around.
Exactly. So that means that whoever's sitting on the throne of your heart, your entire life wraps around your decisions. What sacrifices are you going to make? Everything all deals with who is sitting on the throne of your heart. And Christ can never sit beside you. He has to be there on the throne.
Yep. There's a sticker that I've seen go around. It's like, Jesus is my co-pilot. No, he's not. He's not your co-pilot. If he's your co-pilot,
Need to switch seats.
you need to switch seats because he should be our pilot,
Exactly.
and you should be sitting in the back of the plane.
Yep.
So I hope you all enjoy this episode. Again, I want to say again, I don't hate sports.
No.
There are a lot of good that come from it, but just like everything, there are some evils that have to be dealt with. And I hope we covered that enough today.
That's it.
So we really enjoy you listening. Thank you. Let us know of any topics that you would like us to cover, and we will try and get to it as fast as we can. Thank you, and God bless.
Love you guys. Bye.